Okay, I'm going to modify and shorten the Klymit V Ultralight SL. It's about a foot too long. I did an experiment on last year's model and that worked just fine, so we're going to move forward and we're going to shorten this one. Oddly enough, this is like their last year's model. It's stated as 72 inches, but it's about 81 inches. I don't know why there's such a discrepancy in measuring it. Even when inflated, I can't imagine the bottom shrinking that much. So anyways, what I would do is lay it out flat, lay on it, and take your measurement that way. This way you know exactly how much you need. Okay, there. And there's my tails mark. Right. Measuring. I need to see. It's up here. I can get those. Just like that. Up here. And this. Okay, there. That's what you do. That's the hardware. I need to do. My cross. And measuring my cross. I'm removing 17 inches off the bottom here. That's almost that is a foot and a half basically of extra fabric that I don't need. I'm 5'6", by the way. If you're 6 foot, you might need it. But we'll see how much that ends up weighing. These are some bacon presses that I got that I use for holding fabric and managing fabric. I put some adhesive felt on the bottom. Sorry, felt with adhesive on the bottom. They're good because you can use them to sort of push out, flatten fabric, get creases out, and hold it while you cut stuff. All right, so I do this there, right there, here, and here. So go right up, right there. Here, couple. Yeah. So try to here. Okay. So here, here, we're team. Like this. All right, here we go. Take your arms, one side. Knee down. Your arm. When you get to the top of the seam, make sure you get that bit too. This is going to start top of the seam. So we'll wait till you pull back. Okay. Pull. Pull. Right. And we're going there. Make sure you corner it. Okay. Beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is go a little bit past the seam just to make sure that the hottest part of the iron, the sort of center, has a chance to go over the seam. And this should make sure that it's sealed, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to do the back side too, so that both sides get that direct heat. Making sure that they stick together. All right. Here. Okay. Here. So, right. That side. Okay. Pressure. One more time. So now we're going to test it and blow up the pad. Let's check out the seam. Nice. This second one came out a lot better, and I attribute that to the fact that I ironed just above the seam to make sure that the hottest part of the iron actually joined the two pieces of fabric together. But the other thing is I also flipped it over and I heat treated the back side as well. So I would recommend heat treating both sides. This seam is nice. I probably could cut half of it off. I'll definitely trim the corners a little bit. This one's good to go. So now we're going to lay on both the pads. So the first thing that I noticed is that they both ended up a few inches shorter than I had planned. And I attribute this to the fact that when I measured and cut, I did it with the pads not inflated. So in order to get an accurate measurement, what I would do if I were you is blow up the pad, then lay on it, measure your length, and then add 1 inch to 1.5 inches for the seam. Put them both out and make sure that the seams hold. So this is the SL version, and it came out, I don't know, 3 inches too short, which isn't a problem. I can put my backpack and other stuff down there. Let's move around a bit, make sure that the seam holds. This is good. This is good. This is holding. No problems here. Okay. So now Let's try out the other pad. And this one, this is the last year's model, and this one is a few inches short as well. I guess with my inflatable pillow, I can make them long enough for my feet. This would work. This is great. Okay, and the seams are holding on the bottom. Pretty impressed. Let's figure out how much they weigh now. This year's model, the Ultralight version, we cut off 1.8 ounces. The Ultralight version, which is this year's Klymit model, and that one comes in at 8.7 ounces. An 8.7 ounce inflatable pad that is essentially 5'6". Beautiful. This used to weigh, I think, 11.9 ounces. Let me make sure that's accurate. Correct, 11.9 ounces. And now it weighs, one more time, 8.7 ounces. All right, so I would call this a success. Both of these pads were modified the first time through with an iron on the silk setting. The significant lesson learned here was to make sure to inflate the sleeping pad before you measure it to determine how much you want to cut off. In this video, I measured without inflating the sleeping pads, and both of them ended up a good 2 to 3 inches shorter than I planned. It's not a significant problem for me, but if you want it to come out accurate, inflate the pad first, lay down on it, and then measure it, deflate it, and then cut it. And what I would do is add an inch or 1.5 inches to whatever that measurement is first for your seam, and then cut it, and then iron it. This is the iron I'm going to use. My girlfriend's iron. I pulled it out of the closet. Hopefully I won't ruin it. It has an adjustable temperature gauge down here, and I'm going to start at the lower end of the spectrum. This one is marked for acrylic, but essentially I think that's just medium. So we're going to start with medium and then work our way up or down from there. I'm not adding water, and I'm not going to use steam. And I'm going to plug this in and give you an idea what I'm looking for. Just want a straight seam. Make sure that none of the air bubbles kind of coming down close to the edge here, because if it is, and that edge loosens up over time from pressure and dirt and whatever, you might have a big air leak. So just make sure that the seam goes up, I don't know, all the way to whatever your seam measurement is. Mine was 1.25 inches. These are all at least 1 inch. This looks great. Alright, so now we need to figure out how to check if there are any air leaks in this. And I think I'm going to do what I do with my waders, and that is stick it in some water and see if any air bubbles come out. So now I have to find something that's big enough for me to put this in. I'll be back. Alright, so what we're going to do is take this, stick it in here, all the way with air in it compressed, and we're looking for bubbles that come out of our seam. Now there's some bubbles on top, but I'm not seeing any bubbles coming out of the seam. They'll rise to the top. Be a nice little stream of bubbles. You'll know it when you have a hole. Just check this side. Alright, so we're going to measure the weight of the fabric that we cut off. First up is the Klymit from last year, and that says 3 ounces. So we cut off 3 ounces off of our Klymit. Here's the finished versions of the product. First is the Klymit pad from last year. I think that's the Static V. That comes in at 15.9 ounces now.